I'd like to show you a little bit of the process that I used while making the Dungeons & Dragons Olympics torch ceremony. Switching between my right and left arm in high speed makes me feel like I know Kung Fu. For the Dungeons & Dragons Olympics torch lighting ceremony, I used over 1,700 frames of animation. Some of these frames required over 100 moves of elements, and so it took me, at one point, 3 hours to make 3 seconds of animated video. There were two main ways that I tried to keep track of what I was doing. One was to make notes in a notebook. I named each miniature in the athlete teams, and I made notes of what order they would come into frame and out of frame. And I also used an organization system where I started moving at one end of the stadium and moved across, so I didn't accidentally move some units once, some twice, and some not at all. In order for each frame to look good, the background needs to not move. There are two things that I found important for this. One was that the elements of my modular terrains remain in the same place. I bumped them on occasion, but tried to move them back whenever I could to their original position. The other was that the camera must not move, and so I turned off autofocus on the camera, and I also used a remote to take each picture. I tried to control the lighting of the stadium set using boards painted with matte black and with an overhead light. While the inanimate background needed to remain the same, the miniatures needed to move. Of course, the miniatures that were engaged in some primary activity needed to move, but in order to make the other miniatures seem somewhat alive, I occasionally moved each of the other miniatures. I tried to rotate through moving them, and I found that moving them in 2 consecutive frames yielded the best results. While running across the field requires a lot of movement, talking does not. At first I moved my miniatures while talking too much, and soon found that a smaller amount of movement was much better for that. Once I had taken all of my frames, I compiled them in iMovie, setting a time for 1/10 of 1 second for each frame, and when I had compiled each scene, I exported it as a separate movie file so that I could adjust them in the final movie. I am more interested in telling stories than in creating animation. That means that as I go forward, I will look for methods that I can use that will require less effort of animation, like using still frames to set a scene. 3 things I learned that I should do differently. First, I would have talking characters move less. Second, I would use a darker room so I could control the light more. And third, I would focus in on smaller scenes so that I could have more action with less effort. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you have any hints for making time-lapse videos, please put them in the comments below. Thank you for your valor.